Hey, welcome back to the Quick Take with Maribel Lopez and Julie Ask. Hey, Julie, how are you?
Good. Good morning. Happy to be here.
All right, so it is a quick take. We had just finished NRF recently, and it seems like all the rage that's being talked about is agentic commerce. We've got a new term. Oh, the excitement.
Oh, the
Um,
excitement. We hadn't even gotten through conversational commerce, and now we're on to agentic commerce. But yeah, go for it.
yeah.
Let's tee
Okay,
this thing
okay.
up.
So
Lots of announcements.
lots of announcements, right? If we look at this, basically, this is taking the concept of agentic AI and it's moving it into commerce. So planning, executing, they're talking about multi-step shopping, transaction workflows, everything from discovery through payment and post-purchase, which seems like a big hairy deal right now. But that's the framing for what Julie and I are going to talk about. Julie, I know that you actually just recently put together a
Actually, can we restart?
newsletter.
You're frozen.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You're frozen on my side. Am I frozen on your side?
No, but
Should we
okay.
restart it? Can we just restart?
Yeah,
I mean,
we
we're only like a
should.
minute in. Let's just restart it.
Yeah, we will. But you know what I'm gonna
Okay.
do?
And I'll be
I'm
better on the
gonna
opening. I'll help you out. I'll say like
go.
done.
Hello and welcome back to the Quick Take. I'm Mar. Oh shit!
You know
What
what? And I
is
can introduce. I
beeping?
can say my own name. You
Did
say
you?
your name, and then I'll say my name.
Okay, but I'm trying to figure out what's beeping. Hold on. Did you hear
Nothing
that
is
beep?
beeping on my. No, nothing's beeping on my side.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all right. One more time. This time with feeling. Hey, welcome back to the program. I'm Maribel Lopez with Lopez Research, and I'm joined here today with.
I'm Julie Osk with Julie Osk Advisory.
And I'm excited to be here with you today, Julie. We've had a lot going on for the beginning of the year, and a lot of us have just come back from NRF or spoken to people that were at NRF, and it seemed like all the rage this year at NRF. For this quick take, we're going to be talking about agentic
To
commerce.
commerce.
Yes. So we had agentic AI, which has now moved into agentic commerce. So I guess the concept being that we're talking about having agents do everything from planning to executing shopping experiences. The big ask for a lot, no pun intended, for the agentic world. So I know that you just wrote a blog on this. So I thought
Yep.
maybe we could start with getting your quick take on what you think about agentic commerce.
Yeah. So I think like my headline would be is agentic commerce is an and. It's not an or to all the other kinds of commerce that we have, whether it's like bricks and mortar, online, conversational commerce, whatever it's going to be. So I think that's the first big takeaway. Yeah, it can be a thing. It doesn't mean it's going to be a
Yeah.
big thing. And I think the second thing I would say is while there have been a lot of announcements, especially coming from technology companies about protocols and frameworks and so forth that we'll get into in a minute, this is mostly about businesses today and how they operate. And it's not something that I believe is going to impact the consumer experience in the near term.
I really like the way that you teed this up because I do think it's phases, right? When you go into any new technology and but before you get all the way to like the end customer and you've got a customer facing technology, you just don't like throw up a brand new thing for the customer facing technology, right? We've all talked about how bad those experiences can be if they're not well baked. So there is sort of a B2B before you even get to a
Mhm.
B2C component. So we've talked a lot about automation of workflows for businesses. So I can see sort of a concept of how do we use agents in B2B? Like what kinds of
Yeah,
things could we do in B2B about automating the purchase of a part that might need to go into your product or things of that nature,
yeah,
right? So there's a lot of that supply chain
yeah.
sort of
I think
automation that can be
absolutely.
done,
Yeah.
billing
Yeah.
automation.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because I think Maribel, because I think one of the things that a lot of these new bounces also focus on is the notion of payments and how you get information. And I think and I want to come back to you on payments, but to put something into context, when we were talking earlier, WhatsApp has 3 billion monthly active users, I think. 3 billion,
Yep.
right? And
Big number.
it's a really big number. And because some of the argument for agentic commerce, besides some like one-off demos, is that, oh, there's 800, 900 million people a month or a week on OpenAI, and they need to make money, by the way. Like, so like, let's put that out there
Yeah.
too. But
How do we
the
go
thing
there? Yeah.
is, just like on WhatsApp, unless you're in Brazil or you're in India, just because somebody's on OpenAI doesn't mean they're shopping. And I think the numbers that they put out about 6 months ago put it at about 2%. So just because a consumer or business is on a platform doesn't mean they're going to shop on that platform. And I think if you look at, some of the inhibitors to, let's call it like conversational commerce, this idea of using natural language, asking for something and it, somehow appearing at your doorstep or you go down the street and pick it up, is payments. And I think that was always going to
Mm.
be one of the biggest inhibitors, at least in the United States, when it came to the WhatsApp platform. And we saw quite a few announcements at NRF around payments and protocols. So I mean, I'll throw that back to you. I feel like that's, besides the consumers don't want to use conversations to do everything, I think that's one of the biggest obstacles.
Yeah, this probably gets back to when you think about the things that have to happen for agentic commerce to happen. That you and I saw this in mobile, right? So we had to
Mhm.
have Apple Pay and Google Pay, like a way for people to pay with their phones that made sense to them. There weren't too many platforms and how they would have to engage with the credit card
Mhm.
makers to do that. So probably one of the most material movements that we've seen, besides just trying to get to a better chat style UX, is in the plumbing. It's in creating these open protocols and tokenized payment handoffs and things. So we saw like at least two camps that came out. There was sort of the OpenAI, Stripe, PayPal. I believe they called theirs the Agentic Commerce Protocol, the ACP, because we needed more
That's one of
acronyms,
them. Yeah.
truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then the and the other one was sort of the Google Shopify Universal Commerce Protocol
Yep. Yep.
path, right?
UCP. Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
so we got two. We got UCP and we got ACP, and so you kind of need to get people lined up with those, embracing those. Like we need a way to like actually process the payment before we can get to like true agentic commerce. So maybe some of the things that happen in between while everybody's working out like which camp they're going to be on and which credit card guys go with which camp, uh, we could be doing like in B2B guided ordering, reorder automation, quote collections. There's like all these automated things that are sort of commerce related that
Hmm.
aren't necessarily all the way to the consumer yet. So I think we'll get there. And I think you actually made a good point. The and point I think is really important. Like a lot of times when we think of things in industries, we're going to throw out X and do Y. It's like, no, we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so that discussion, also you mentioned the discussion of WhatsApp, right? So I think we saw this in mobile when everybody was talking about people buying on WeChat. Remember that? It was like a thing where it's like, oh my
Different,
God, is
different,
everybody going to
whole
buy?
different set of circumstances in China. But yeah, go on WeChat. I mean, the first and probably only
Yeah.
super app we have.
Right. So I think we're still, as an industry, trying to say, like, could that work anywhere else? And how would that look? But the concept, if nothing else, I think the best thing that we can think about right now from a user experience standpoint is like discovery is hard. Getting the right
Yes.
price is hard. If we can
Yes.
sort of do something to help with like at least, forget about like the full end-to-end transaction. Can I just find if you have a product or not? Can I just find out how much that product might cost? If we could get there easier, I think it would go a long way to giving us a better customer experience. What's your take on
Yeah,
that?
because so I think too, like I think there's like two things that you brought up because like the early traction in the announcements, at least with the partners, let's say on the Google side, for me fall into two camps. It's either one, what I would call the convenience buy. Apparently, there's a lot of folks out there who think buying groceries is complicated and it's something they don't want to do. And they want to
Yeah.
say, right, fill my refrigerator, make dinner for my kids, and they want it to just happen. Right. And so I think that's the one play that you see. Then the second one is around youth brands with the understanding that younger consumers are more likely to adopt, new interfaces. They're at home, they don't have cars, there's some other reasons they might do that. So there's a couple of use cases there, but I think, one of the challenges comes back to is like how much autonomy do you want to hand over or do you feel comfortable handing over? It's one thing as you
Big question.
described to go into one of these things and there's a sweater you've been looking for or something that you finally find in your size at the right price. And wouldn't it be nice to just say, buy it, ship it to my home? That's one level of autonomy that I can buy into. The make my kids dinner, meaning like scan what's in my fridge, make a grocery list, give me a rest. Even like I'm like, nah, I think we're a long ways off of that. That's if consumers even want it. So I don't know what your take is on that, but I think, AI today or agentic AI today, going back to what you said, is about enabling a feature. It's about powering everything on the back end. I think people forget too that like 85% of retail in the United States or 85% of commerce is still offline. It's bricks and mortar. It's only 15%. And this isn't like automated end to end. Like even if you put in some order to Instacart or to Amazon, somebody's still walking around that store with a grocery cart, seeing what's there and what isn't and putting it in bags. Like we're just not at that level. And I'm not sure we ever will be with that amount of automation in our society.
There's a lot of human in the loop in agentic commerce, right? And a lot
Yeah.
of areas that you can go in. And I thought actually, some of the more interesting things I heard, there's sort of what's the intersection of AI and buying stuff, just in general, right? And the guided assisted transaction, even in something like buying pizza, the guy from Papa John's is talking about, hey, you want to buy pizzas for the soccer team and it's your turn and you don't know how many pizzas to buy. It's like you can, say, here's how many people are in the soccer team. They can't eat mushrooms, whatever it is. And it comes out with some assisted recommendation. And maybe after that, there's an agent that's in the Papa John's app that can help you place the order. But you
Mhm.
put in a lot, you've had an opportunity to make some of the decisions as the recommendation has come back to you. And then maybe you can automate part of the transaction. But sometimes when we hear these things, it's so much like, oh, I'm going to hit a button and then like everything is auto magically going to happen on the other side. And to your point, I'm not sure people are ready for that yet. They would trust it yet. But we have many stages between here and there that can provide great stuff. So I guess my take at the end is it's if you're a retailer or somebody that sells things, it's not that you don't think about agentic commerce, it's that you think about like what parts of these things could be automated or assisted. Like how do we help people find things? How do we take friction out of the process? And maybe not be so hung up on this is like a fully automated workflow,
New
right?
thing. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think yeah, if I were to come back to it, like, first of all, I love your term, like auto magic. I love that. And I think, I think the second, I'll say two more things. Like one, you talked about this idea of friction. And like the people in the payments industry have been working on reducing friction in the checkout process. I mean, that's what Apple Pay is about at the end of the day, right? It's about removing that friction and making that easy. And that's so important because this is about convenience buys. This is about removing friction. And the other thing, like if, we're sitting here at the end, talking to retailers and giving them advice, I think this is really about like what are the breadth of opportunities? Like, you know what I mean? If you have a pile of money to go after, you're still probably putting 85, 90% of it to create some kind of efficiencies on the back end or in service or somewhere. And then even if you had 10% of your money left over, to somehow improve or evolve your customer experience, I'm not sure it's going into commerce. I'm not sure it's not going into like more personalized content, if it's not going into more self-service, with some kind of like a chat bot even on the front end. I'm not sure commerce is even where I'd put my first set of dollars when it comes to evolving the customer experience and using the technology to do it.
I love that, Julie. I think that's probably the most important thing we can take away. It's like out of all the things you could do in the customer experience landscape that are AI related or adjacent or full on AI, which ones do you do first and where do you put this? So I guess my takeaway, riffing off your takeaway, is it's still early days. It could be in some manner, shape, or form the future of commerce, but it's not like the first thing that we're going to see right now. Your final
No,
takeaway?
yeah, I'd be surprised if this is even like 2% of online commerce like 2 years from now.
And there you have it, folks.
There you
We
have
got
it.
single digits from Julie. All right.
So,
And now she's put a prediction out there. We get to circle back to you in 2 years and let you know how we did. But
good.
Julie, it's been
All
great
right.
chatting with you about agentic commerce and we'll come back to you and pretty
Yep,
soon
it's
with a
been
new quick
fun.
take.
We'll be back
All
next
right.
week with a new take. All right. Thanks, guys. See you
Yeah.
later.
Cheers.